Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
People, I just created this guy. Able to see my. I am still not my need. Once you've created this one, you need to assign the employee profile action that gives permissions whatever you've added. This is not a role based security group. No, this is not any other type of security. You need to assign this Prism related security to employee profile. That employee can get access to what are the Prism permission that you buy and write those permissions employee will get. But you cannot do this in this tenant action because where should I? How do I assign this one? You just go to security profile. Security profile. I just about that. Maybe I just thought of checking with you. Security profile. Assign user based security group. Oh, this is also user based security. They should be getting an option to add to this, actually. Oh, I have. Anyway, it was going back. You should be able to add that to the list. This, that. Anyway, I don't want to vote. That should be fine. Is they. Just I want to see open this one. People present partners. You've created. I guess I don't know that. I'm going to security groups. I did, but I did this. Go to that. The magnifying screen. Magnified screen is there. No, there's some security. The PISM access security groups area related actions and edit that one. I just added, I don't know. You've added all the domain permissions here and unconstrained security group. This should be unconstrained. Security group should be your user base security group. You can take any of the user base we can take here and add it here. Take, for example, take a HR admin. Just for an instance to get your kind of understanding, HR admin. Just an administrator. Just see if you can. Administrator. Once you click on and assign this to Prism partner to user based, employee profile, they should be able to get permissions for all the Prism related activities. They should be able to create a data source. They should be able to publish. They should be able to enhance any of the existing Prism datasets section. But unconscious security group. This is generally whatever I selected while creating that group. We need to assign that group only unconscious security group. Whatever you created, just for understanding, I've given HR admin, but you can use it. You can create Prism administrator kind of things. I can add that Prism and visitor to the user profile. Authentication policies. We discuss what is authentication policy. It is nothing but authenticate any user actually. Authenticate any user whether that person can perform any activity in the tenant. For example, I've given you the integration example yesterday. You are hiring an employee into Workday through Greenhouse integration. Integration is built in Studio that actually picks the employee, picks the candidate from a greenhouse and uploads that candidate into Workday as an employee Integration is actually hiring an employee into the system. In order to have integration permissions to perform the hiring, integration should have authentication access. Whatever the security that is assigned to integration security, that security, a security group should be authenticated. Actually, you'll be adding that to the list of the authentication policies and activate authentication policies that your integration will have. Permissions to hire an employee. In that way, you can authenticate any of the user with the security group and have permissions perform activity in a Workday tenant actually. One question here, the for integration, greenhouse integration. Why are you using Studio? Any default not available in the EI. What is that? Why are we using Studio? Studio is a third-party integration tool. Studio can perform a customized integration. Actually, when your integration requirements are not able to fulfill with the EIB and core connectors, then you come with Studio. Let's say, for example, there was an integration requirement that when you raise an expense request as an employee, that expense request has to go for a manager to approve, and your manager approves that expense request, and your business has decided that the moment managers approve the expense request that employer makes, and a PDF copy should be sent to employee to email address. These are all the expense details that you have raised, which you got approved from your manager. And this is a copy of your request, which will be listing down all the expense details that employer has made and all the expense amount that is getting reimbursed as part of the reimbursement policy. Your business would have decided the moment the manager approves the expense request, employee should be getting a kind of PDF copy with all the approvals and the kind of expense request that employee is making. That shows the amount that has been granted as part of the expense request. That should show to an employee. This is what you have requested, and this is what your manager has approved, and your payroll has paid this one. A PDF copy should be sent to your employee's email. Actually, your EB cannot do this, your connector cannot do this, your Studio can do this. Actually, because Studio has some kind of components to trigger an email, some kind of components to actually generate a statement. PDF print is a kind of component that it has. It will be printing the PDF copies and sending an email. We have a component, actually email out component we have in Studio that will be sending email to employee, where your EAB, your core connector cannot perform this activity. That's the reason why you have used Studio to perform this action. Good. Similarly, you can take an HR example. Whenever employee gets promoted, your business decides that as employee gets promoted, there should be a promotion letter automatically sent to employee email. This can be achieved through Studio action, but your EAB cannot do this. Your EAB can extract the promotion data that is sitting in Workday but cannot generate a PDF copy, cannot generate a PDF letter on the promotion. It cannot do action. But your Studio can do action. It takes heavy cutters, customization, but your Studio can perform that. One question here, I know that means the BR reports are you talking about, or that the Studio, using your Studio, you can modify the BR report. You can attach your BR to Studio. Whatever the bar layout that you'll be attaching, you can develop that layout and attach that BR layout to your Studio. Then your Studio will process that for every employee in the system. Let's say the example that I've given, expense request that I've given, you will be developing a BRT layout with expense layout actually. That will be getting a kind of template. You'll go and attach this template to your Studio integration and call your business process. Whatever the business process, expensive business process there, attach your integration to that business process. And the moment a manager has approached that business process will trigger the integration. It will carry that employee's information through integration and through email component that you'll be adding in Studio integration. That will generate email letter to employee from the email address. From the address that you have given, there will be email out component where you'll be attaching email for an employee. Actually, there will be a standard email address. You will be configuring that, and the moment your business process triggers, which approves the expense request by manager, automatically that employee record will get picked up and will be sent a kind of PDF copy to employee email address. Employee can actually see that expense request email and click. They're good with the PDF copy. That gives a kind of breakup of all the expense details. Your integration will be managing actually, which you cannot do through it. You cannot attach the layer birth layer to your EIB or your other integration connector. Got it. Actually, we have a lot of things that Studio can do, which your connector or E cannot. One question. I asked them, you are teaching, I'm recording with me a Studio. Did you cover all these things in your Studio training on? Studio is a separate actually. Now we have seen authentication policies. API security and web services cover, and some setup also cover. Actually, let me see if we have it. I don't think we have a tenant setup access in this tenant actually. But to show you the SAML setup that we can make, maybe we do configure, but I think that we don't have access in this tenant actually. Maybe you need to go that. That will go off and go similarly user-based security group. That will McNeil, also Logan McNeil. Same issue with Logan also. It's not working. What I can do is I can get some kind of community information. Thank you. Tenant setup, not only security. But I don't think we have any other tenant setup. No tenant setup access that we have here, because that will, I don't think, even training tenant begin. They should have given this access at least to show some of the options actually, but I don't know. What's wrong? They have restricted, but security I can understand. To avoid security changes that they would have given this access, but tenant setup, they should have given access for us to actually explore and show you something to people you that you'll be understanding underlink configurations. What I can do for this item is I have configured SAML in my office tenant. Actually, I'll get a screenshots for you. I'll get a screenshots just hiding the organization information, the complete XML setup that I've made. I'll get a screenshot for you. I'll talk on that. How about configuration that I made and what you need to do, what your SAML can be done through Okta actually. Okta vendor has to share some of the IDs to you. Security IDs kind of things where you need to configure those security IDs. All those things, probably I'll take a screenshot and talk about that. And then API security and web services. Let's say if you're making any kind of integration through web services action, meaning that through API have you extracted any APIs from the tools Postman? Baby, kind of tools have you used? Have you used anytime Postman? General, I was using this. Yes, I used a lot those things. Yes, you're aware of Postmans and how to call APIs in a Postman. Now, generally, when you wanted to call those kind of APIs into Postman and get a data from those APIs, you need to perform some activities at tenant level actually. You need to grant a security, and that security you need to take into Postman. Actually, let's say get workers is the web service. If you wanted to call all the worker data through get workers web service, generally you'll do. If you go to the web service called HR, accesses the visual which will be giving you all the APs of early rate of work correction. That sounds is it all that? Web services related to HR actually. You can find all the requests. If you come down, you'll be finding all the requests. It is not able to load, there will be huge request. Actually, you should be getting all the URLs. Actually, you should be getting all the web service URLs. Where your tenant should be able to give me that URL. What you'll do is you'll take that URL and configure a kind of this security, whatever the other security that we have this security. Where is it security registering API? Somewhere we need to write number, API security website. Did we register anywhere registering APIs kind of thing? Probably this would be covering that. Whatever the API that you have collected here, you'll be getting all the URLs in the last stage of your API. You will be correcting that API URL and you will be registering security for that API. How you will be confirming that security is register API client. Here you'll be registering your API and the redirection URL. There will be Workday host URLs. No Workday host URLs. This will be your endpoints actually. These are standards for this tenant. Your IST API endpoint, your token endpoint, your authorization endpoint. This would be your authorization endpoint, which will be authorizing your listing action. If you take any of the existing one that we have created, take this as a kind of redirection URL. We have your API creation. Now, once you have given, you need to have your function area, which function area that you want to extract. What data that we want to extract? We need to extract something related to worker, related information that we need to extract. That comes under staffing Kingston area. Also comes under system, which is not the one little bit technical things can be handled in a system function area. Thank you. Now we have registered your API client. Once you have registered your API client, you will be seeing your client ID gets generated. Your client ID has got generated and client secret also got generated. You will be using this in your Postman actually. You will be using this in your Postman to call this data from Workday. How your Postman will be authenticating client ID and client security, your Postman will be authenticating action. If you wanted to regenerate your client secret, you can go to the related actions. And generate a new client secret. If you want to generate a new key for that, you can select that and select. If we Postman, I don't know, maybe can we see any sample or stuff? Watchman, I don't think we can install how to configure this one. Maybe I might have this one. We use our commissioner too. Give him the thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your Postman account is getting created. Once we have the account created, we should be able to configure the APIs, and wherever that's the details needs to be configured, we can see. Yes, I want to see how now to configure that information. But meanwhile, I was checking I had studio access. I was able to see maybe quickly I share maybe. I asked her to share request. Maybe if you are able to access my this one, you should be able to share now. See, I was looking at this information. I will edit tenant security here. Oh, you are able to find it. What is it? I admin and I will share it. Let's go DPT to tenant. What is the tenant that I'm using? My tenant is or underscore DPT1 your tenant, and my tenant is different, I believe. That's why maybe once we've done that one. Maybe if you want, you can go here also. Come down, do you see? An existing setup for Samuel. Come down. Here you will be doing the SAML setup actually. Your provider will be sharing some of the information, and based on that, you will be configuring this information. Once you have something covered, what we are doing, we should be able to look into this. I will show you how we can configure the SAML setup. Maybe if we have request access, I'll grant you, then you can go with it. Or you can show here also, or if you have access, you can get it from them. I'll see if I can get access to this tenant. Now let's. Postman got created. Thank you. username or name ticket. You're able to see my screen now. Yes, yes. Thank you. This is a view of your post was actually. You can do get and post calls. All these calls you can do here. All you need to do is you need to get a kind of final authorized endpoint here, which you have created. This would be the endpoint actually, or what you can do is if you're trying to call data that is sitting in the web service, you need to post that web service all here. Have something here that we did pick. Thank you. You'll have for any web service that you go, you'll have a kind of base web service URL at the bottom of this deal actually. Now you'll have all the XML code that we're generating. If you go to the bottom, you'll be having the standard web service URL, which you can use that as an API. Because of that, because of tenant is taking loading time or it's a huge whistle actually, might be turning the performance. I think it's not able to. And it's in the complete XML that is releasing actually. Can you to try from your internet to see if this is working? I just wanted to show you the URL actually. Go to public web services and access human resources and go and have me there. If you can see here, I think I was able to get here. If you see here the last, this URL that you are seeing, this would be the base URL actually, habis to ample services workday.com. Tick service line, rapid idea. This is tenant name and this would be your web service actually. You can actually pick this URL. You can actually take this URL and access in Postman. Whatever the Postman that you've created, web service, we just go on create a web services. Go to Chrome. We have already created. No way it is asking again. No, maybe the Chrome is open new window, maybe previous Windows window, one window to maybe if you see this one, This URL you can actually take it. This URL will give this and authenticate for authorizations. Basic auth, whatever the client ID that you've given, client ID that you got from, where is that? Racer API. This is one you got. You can take your client it here. This would be your username. Actually, your client ID would be your username. And your password should be send me the space. And your password would be the key actually. This would be the, you don't have a key. What I can do is I can generate a key field. Thank you. Have new client is generated. Take this and add it to your Postman. Now, which call that you wanted to make, you can actually make. Which call that you want to make, you can actually make a call, whether it is a get call or post call or whatever you want to have, you can actually make it. There is some security issue that is coming up. There's a reason we are getting 404. It talks about security. Maybe the user that I'm trying does not have access to this API. That could be the reason. It should be seen. But the configuration is same. Whatever we have configured it, they should have been the same actually. That is for both the REST API and SOAP API. The same process you'll be following for REST and SOAP actually. You need to generate a URL and pass it to the REST API URL, and from there it will take. Further, sorry, I lost the connection. When do we generate these things? Things in the current generating API and somebody's. Asa, can you explain? Part of it we have discussed already. Connectors, we're discussing Studio. What all these integrations can do, they can actually integrate the data to a vendor. No, file-based integrations. 5, those are called a kind of file-based integration. When vendor says that we don't want it to have any file-based integration because that is actually creating a heavy, we don't want to have a heavy list of the files. Send us through API. If that vendor asks, we can actually create an API with this process. Vendor is a third party. When third-party system provider says that we also have APIs and we can actually accept, or the API endpoints and all. Based on that, you can actually accept, configure them. The security admin role is we generate this API and give the information username password to them, or now they will provide us username password, the API, the client ID and secret. We need to create a security for the API that is in Workday. Actually, we need to create that and test this one. Be sharing this URL with username and password to vendor actually, but in order to ensure that we are able to get the data from this, be testing this one, be testing on this one, and vendor also will be sharing the URL. And URL access details will be sharing, and from there, vendor will be taking further. Got it. That's how our API security generally goes. That is one way of doing your registration for API. You'll be doing and you'll be calling. There is one more called API for integrations. Here we are seeing API client. Currently we have created this one. Or you have a task to create API for integration. Here you will see little bit difference action. That would be a kind of function area that you will give and click on. Here also you will be getting the same details. You will be getting client ID and you will be getting client secret, which you can use for further integration section. There are two kind of active ways that you can do with integration. As usual, you can take this information and configure it in your Postman or any SAP API to extract the data, and then the API should work whatever. Now, when you use Post, we are getting the information. We will give you the body or anything for us, or how to test that only get APIs or anything else we use. In this kind of generally worker information, they'll be expecting us, because all of that information we rarely integrate. For all the worker data from get workers from all the service information related focus you'll be creating. You'll be creating this kind of API and configure for the integrations. Actually, clear rate of the API setup. All you have is if you have a Pushman or if you have SOAP API, you'll be generating URLs from Workday and configure those URLs and grant a security for the API. You can explain the process actually, generally understand, sure, what process you have followed to create an API kind of thing. Sure, and what else can you share? Some of the questions that you are showing, we can see what all those questions. Definitely, these are the questions yesterday we were talking about. Here, this one also affecting people. This you mentioned. You're sharing your screen. I don't think I'm seeing your screen. Not able to see. No, I'm not seeing your screen. Let me share again one more time. We started sharing close to the tab. Is that there? We will see. Oh, but something is saying that you're sharing your screen. I don't know where I need to. I'm not seeing which one here. How do I balance collaboration with IT governance and business objectives when implementing security measures? I think we discussed this. IT governance is nothing but a kind of audit team we have. We are serving only for Workday. Actually, as a kind of security administrator, as a kind of security analyst, we are serving for only Workday product. But they have a lot of other products also that they need to maintain. Outside of work, the security configuration, how it is going, and that authentication policies and all how they're making. All those details and all be checking with your audit team actually. Once you have a kind of understanding how your internal security has developed, based on that, what kind of security that you can go, standard that it will make to have your security affected kind of things. Any use case to remember, any use case here, or basically, I can say for every 3 months, internally audit team will be making some kind of audit section. There was one audit team where they've identified the security changes without any kind of screenshots actually. Whenever we make any kind of security changes, your security administrator will be running a report for every month who have made the security changes. Why did they make all those changes? And all they'll be making a kind of spreadsheet you'll be adding. You will be adding your screenshots or your approval for the security changes that you are making in that. Basically, security auditor will ask you a kind of artifacts. When you are making security changes, what is the approval and where did you make the change? And what is the impact of your change? A kind of artifact your security administrator and your auditor will ask you. You will be providing that documentation and your security auditor will make that updates. And once again, the external auditor comes and manages that external auditor, in a sense, someone from Deloitte, someone from other population who are in the auditing, who will be validating your security checks and see if they can reduce any kind of measures for that. Now, what I was asked to do is get a kind of report from your external audit team that whatever I've created is working as expected and there was no security threat for that. That was one thing. And the internal one, if I'm actually making for integration security changes, once the security changes are made and run the integration to see those impacts actually. In that way, you'll be associating with the internal security governance team and will be able to handle the other requests that employee will be managing got it and steps to ensure compliance with data privacy standards. This is not a Workday question, steps to ensure compliance with the data privacy standards. It's not a kind of security related to Workday, but they're actually asking how your internal privacy security standards are there. How do you take that? In order to achieve your results is what they will be taking some kind of information from there. Ensure your compliance, data privacy. Who should have access to what? Who should be ensuring data for what? All these kinds of activities here, compliance team will be having and you'll be collecting all those details. Though it is not a kind of workday activity, but you will be noting what are the things that we can do through compliance, data privacy activities. that I can, in general way I can. However, the delivery should be something related to specific what we generally do frequently in Italy. Actually, you can take some kind of example that I've referred, but note down any kind of steps actually. Note down any kind of steps and start delivering them if you're not clear. We can rediscuss this again and again. We can rediscuss till you get a clarity. Sure, and how would you handle urgent security defect affecting people actually? Based on the ticket that you got, kind of urgent issue, what they're seeing with the severity also should be the same actually. When you have your security that is actually making effective for the integration, which is actually getting the invalid data, which is immediate fix that you need to make because next and it will get some other information. You need to fix that immediately, the security issue, by going into the employee profile or the candidate profile. You'll be going and you'll be fixing the issue actually. If your integration is getting failed, you want to avoid that failure. Just review what all the permission that it has, the permission that is it is missing. Get all those details and that should actually resolve the issue. If what kind of, maybe in general they might ask for me, recently did you see any kind of integration issues? How did you resolve? Maybe generally what kind of integration issues? We will see the basics. Let's say ADP is not integrating properly or those kind of be. Have any example top of your mind? There can be many integrations. Let's say your connector is there. Your connector is there. You have created integration security for connector and attach integration system user to run this with the username actually. Your connector is actually getting failed, or is it written blank data? Is getting a blank data because you have not given any kind of security for that one. And it is giving a blank data and it's your target date. Time has come and you should be giving a security that gives you the value from the selection list actually. To have security configured for the connector and ensure that security is keeping your integration to run properly and have your integration configured for security. Group and then when I actually run the integration, it will be failing actually. When you see the failure, you'll be seeing some kind of authentication issues for the integration. Based on that, you can understand. Integrations fail because of the security issue. What you and can do is you can go to that particular security element. Let's say personal data is one of the area where your integration is actually failing, saying that unauthorized access kind of thing. You'll be reviewing all the security basically when you are actually developing any integration. Whatever data that you are actually adding, you'll definitely have to provide a security for that. No, if you're adding any, let's say, take example. For example, connector, you are giving all the fields that you want to have: employee ID, employee name, employee person information, employee, all those things. If you're assigning integration security, if you're running with your user, you will have all the access and that will be completing successfully with your user. But for example, in general scenario, in real-time scenarios, there are less changes for you to run integration with your user actually, because when you get terminated, that integration will start failing actually. To avoid that kind of scenarios, what we will generally do whenever we create an integration, we will create a security for that integration. And when you create a security for that integration and have security group running the integration, you will be seeing some kind of unauthorized access or some blank data. you will be returning for some person in. If you have not given, if your user does not have a security, then when vendor sees this file, output file that you have sent through integration, he'll be seeing we are getting some incomplete information, not a complete information. He'll be seeing. Then you can come back and see what needs to be fixed actually, which data columns return blank, whether we have given the security for those or not. You will be troubleshooting the issue and you will be fixing that. And then after you make a fix, you will do a kind of one more run. And that will give you complete enough understanding in playing around with integration action. What security, what data has got messed up and all. You should be able to understand clearly. That would be a kind of generic scenario, I can say. Mostly when you are working with studio integrations, integrations should be the third party integration. The third party integration, let's say you're actually doing benefit changes section, you're loading all the benefit changes for an employee and how this has to happen through change benefits web service. Integration has to load the data. Now we have not given access to the security. And you're ready to perform an integration that loads benefit changes for an employee to have a kind of proper completion of the integration to load benefit changes to the worker. You need to provide benefit changes, web service access to the integration. If you're seeing my screen, let me share my screen again. I'll show you how we need to grant change benefits, web service access to the worker. The integration now, how we can provide that access just in this example for change benefits. But you can replicate the same for other web services also. Now if you see my screen, view security for securable item. What is that? It is a change benefits web service. You can see here change benefits web service task. You can go to the security and this would be the initiation action. You need to go to the related actions. I'm going to the initiation action and here be making that web service actually. You can see here change benefits web services there, whatever the security group that you have created for the integration. You will be adding generally, this would be the format of your security group actually, integration security group. You'll be adding this kind of security group to here that will give permissions for your integration to form any kind of change benefit transaction. Similarly, you can actually get any other security access. You can actually get and add it to the list. That will give you permissions to perform initiation action or any kind of security action for that web service. Clear? Any question? I got your security issue can be web service security, which is not letting your integration to upload the data. You identify that the integration security group does not have initiation action. What do you need to provide? You need to go to that in security group and grant initiation action for the security group. That whenever it is integrated to, whenever it is getting integrated to Workday, picking the data, it will be able to load the benefits to employee profile because you have given web service access. That will authenticate that and load the data into Workday. Either it can be through EIB or it can be studio, or it can be anything. Any questions? This one clear? I mean, I mentioned it. I have to go through line by line. I'll check, maybe I try to pre-pot. Just make a summary on these things and deliver this whatever you have summary, and just go for a navigation section. Whatever the description that we are seeing, the task. View security for secure momentum can allow you to configure the security for any of web services and also for any of the authentication policies. You can actually take that as a kind of reference and perform some activities in Movetic Show. I'll do that. Fine, then I think we should be good for today. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.